Good evening. Thank you for joining me, Dorothea, on Through an Orthodox Christian Lens. I'm going to share an interesting article with you, hoping to get your opinion on it once I'm finished reading it. The ideology behind the new America is more dangerous than it looks. The superhumans are coming, and so is the danger, according to this. The author, Artyom Lukin, an associate professor of international relations at Far Eastern Federal University in this particular city, Russia. Okay? Let's see what he has to say. For the past 500 years, the West has reigned as the world's dominant civilization. Though its grip has loosened in recent years, the West, especially the United States, remains the most powerful force in global politics and the international economy. This power, while capable of building plenty, also carries the potential to destroy a lot. Today, a new ideology is taking shape in the West, particularly in the U.S. Under the right conditions, it could prove as dangerous to humanity as fascism and Nazism were in the last century. The re-election of Donald Trump may mark a decisive turning point, transferring power to people and ideas that are, at best, deeply ambiguous. The new America is not driven by a single world view, but rather by a convergence of four ideological factions. So he's going through these. The Imperial Restorationists. At the center stands Trump himself and his allies, throwbacks to the era of great power imperialism. Trump's inaugural speech to launch his second term left little doubt. He called for territorial expansion, industrial growth, and a resurgent military. America, he declared, is the greatest civilization in the history of mankind. He spoke approvingly of President William McKinley and Theodore Roosevelt, both architects of American imperialism. The vision is unmistakable. American exceptionalism, enforced by military might and driven by the logic of conquest, it is the language of empire. The nationalist conservatives, that's the second group. Then there are the right-wing populists, figures like Vice President J.D. Vance, strategist Steve Bannon, and journalist Tucker Carlson. Their rallying cry is America First. They champion traditional values, claim to speak for the working class, and disdain the liberal elite concentrated in coastal cities. They oppose globalism, support trade protectionism, and promote isolationism in foreign policy. I'm not sure if that's the word or not, that it's technically isolation. Well, anyway, this faction is not particularly new in American politics, but its influence has deepened, especially under Trump's patronage. Then the third one is the techno-libertarian billionaires. A newer and perhaps more unsettling element of America's emerging ideology is represented by Silicon Valley billionaires. Elon Musk is the most visible figure, briefly heading Trump's Department of Government Efficiency in early 2025. But the more influential actor may be Mark Andreessen, the venture capitalist and early internet pioneer who became an informal advisor to Trump. Andreessen's political turn followed his frustration with Biden-era regulations on crypto and artificial intelligence. In 2023, he published a manifesto called The Techno-Optimist, a document that preaches unrestrained technological acceleration. In his view, scientific innovation in free markets can solve all of humanity's problems if only government gets out of the way. Andreessen quotes Nietzsche and invokes the image of the apex predator, a new breed of technological Superman who sits atop the food chain. He writes, "We are not victims, we are conquerors, the strongest predator at the top of the food chain." Such language might seem metaphorical, but it is revealing. Andreessen's list of intellectual inspirations includes Filippo Marinetti, the futurist who helped lay the aesthetic groundwork for Italian fascism and died fighting the Red Army in Stalingrad. Here we have the philosopher Kingmaker. The most intellectually developed thinker of the techno-libertarian camp is Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal and the data surveillance firm Palantir Technologies. I think I did a little bit of information I dug up on him in one of my videos. It was just a short piece. Thiel is no longer a marginal figure. He is now arguably the second most important ideologue of New America, after Trump himself. Thiel is also a master strategist. He personally mentored and funded Vance, now vice president and possibly Trump's heir apparent. At the same time, he backed Blake Masters in Arizona, although that bet didn't pay off. Thiel reads the Bible, quotes Carl Schmitt and Leo Strauss, and speaks openly about the limits of democracy. Freedom is no longer compatible with democracy, he had said. He has compared modern America to Weimar Germany, arguing that liberalism is exhausted and a new system must rise. Despite his libertarian leanings, Thiel's companies develop AI tools for the Pentagon and fund next-generation weapons systems through firms like Anduril. Thiel believes that America has entered a long decline and that radical technological leaps are needed to reverse it. One of his pet projects is the Enhanced Games, a competition where doping and biohacking are allowed. Co-organized with Donald Trump Jr., the event reflects Thiel's obsession with transhumanism and human enhancement. In foreign policy, Thiel views China as America's primary enemy. He has called it a semi-fascist, semi-communist gerontocracy and pushed for complete economic decoupling. I thought fascism and communism were opposites. Oh well. Interestingly, Thiel is far less hostile to Russia, which he sees as culturally closer to the West. In his view, pushing Moscow into Beijing's arms is a strategic mistake. Then we have the Dark Enlightenment. The final group behind the New America are the theorists of the Dark Enlightenment, or neo-reactionary movement. These intellectual provocateurs reject the Enlightenment values that once defined the West. Nick Land, a British philosopher living in Shanghai, is among the founding thinkers of this school. He predicts the end of humanity as we know it, and the rise of post-human, techno-authoritarian systems governed by capital and machines. For Land, morality is irrelevant. What matters is efficiency, evolution, and raw power. Curtis Yarvin, a.k.a. Mencius Moldbug, an American programmer, is another central figure. A friend of Thiel and an insider in Trump's intellectual circle, Yarvin advocates replacing democracy with a corporate-style monarchy. He imagines a future of sovereign city-states run like companies, where experimentation with laws and technologies is unrestricted. Yarvin is clear in his rejection of American global leadership. He believes the U.S. should withdraw from Europe and let regional powers settle their own disputes. He speaks warmly of China, and his views of World War II are unorthodox to say the least, suggesting Hitler was motivated by strategic calculation rather than genocidal ambition. What comes next? Many of these ideas may seem fringe, but fringe ideas have power, especially when they echo through the corridors of political and technological influence. Carl Schmitt's legal theories enabled Hitler to seize dictatorial powers in 1933. Today, the intellectual allies of Trump and Thiel are crafting their own narratives of emergency, decadence, and reawakening. What's emerging in America is not a retreat from hegemony, but a reformatting of it. The liberal intentional order is no longer seen as sacred, even by the country that built it. The new American elite may be withdrawing troops from Europe, the Middle East, and Korea, but their ambitions have not shrunk. They are turning instead to subtler methods of control: AI, cyber dominance, ideological warfare, and technological superiority. Their goal is not a multipolar world, but a redesigned unipolar one. Run not by diplomats and treaties, but by algorithms, monopolies, and machines. The threat to the world is not just political anymore, it is civilizational. The superhumans are on the march. Sounds like he's saying all these people involved in this new America, quote unquote, are either basically fascists, Nazis, or they're transhumanists, and they all revolve around tech stuff, and it seems they don't want any regulation. That's why I'm not a libertarian. I don't believe in deregulating everything. You need some regulations. We already learned how that Teal wants to change people's even their organs, their brains, their hearts, using, basically turning you into a cyborg. He basically wants to do all these things that are just the transhumanist stuff that's not good. This other person sounds like he's a Nazi, or is leaning towards that, so maybe a fascist. Yeah, as I said, I'm not crazy about libertarianism. You don't want to go too far that way, in my opinion. To me, some libertarian aspects remind me of Darwin's survival of the fittest, and I'm not for that. I think people should be helped. And I'm not crazy about reviving imperialism. I think we should humble ourselves and become a better country by sticking to our own selves and not going, invading other people's countries. So I can understand, like, the national conservatives. I can get kind of where they're coming from. I can agree with certain things on theirs, like globalism isn't good because it leads to one world governments, one world religion, and the Antichrist. So, and it also makes people commodities. So I'm not crazy about globalism. Now it's good if you can, connect with people all over the world. But let's not go to the point of what I just talked about. Now I don't know if they're actually isolationists. Although I was told Pat Buchanan, that old conservative from years ago, decades ago, politician, he ran for president once. They called him an isolationist. He doesn't want to be involved in other countries and their wars. And I can agree with that to a certain extent. There are certain times when we might have to come to the aid of something if it's terrible, like what I was just discussing in my last video. I just don't think regime change and invading other people's countries is a good thing to do, and I think that's part of an imperialistic, hegemonic viewpoint. And as we said, I don't believe in American exceptionalism. I think that we are, we aren't above other humans on this earth, and God does not see people in different levels. He loves all of us, and I don't like when they use those kind of words, because to me it sounds very arrogant, prideful. It's fine to have some pride in a good way of your own country, but exceptionalism, I don't like that term. I think it's making you superior to others, and I know every country's people think their country's the best, which is fine. It's how you go about showing that, and we have been pretty bad at that in the past several decades. So that's what I got out of this article. And so this is what he's saying is going to be the new America, and we shall see if any of these particular four, or one of the four, or maybe all of them or something, if that actually happens. I don't know. They're ideological factions, and considering what's going to happen to the states here during this World War III. It's not going to happen. I think anything that's going to be going down a dark path is going to be thwarted by this World War III, as so many saints and elders have said. Anyway, what do you all think on this? Do you think any of these factions are possibly taking place, or going to come to fruition? Or do you think that they're not looking at the Trump administration correctly? Do you think he's off the mark on this? I'd like to hear what you think on this. What's your ideas of these factions and the ideology that he's talking about? Do you think that's actually present in Trump's administration? And do you agree with any of them? Do you support them or do you not? I'd be interested to hear what you all have to say. Thanks so much for watching. It's late here, so I hope you all have a blessed night.